Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Jamie. I read a ton of books, and this is my first wrap-up video for the first week and a half-ish, almost 2 weeks. It is the 13th. Tomorrow's 2 weeks. But who's counting, right? So 2-week wrap-up video almost for November 2025, NetGalley November, and Read What You Own started on the 6th, I believe, officially. So I finished a few books. I finished some books I own. So check out this stack. Ooh. And I might have one more because I think I do have some more Alexander McCall Smith books around somewhere. I could have sworn I had a copy of the Joy and Light Bus Company, which is what I finished yesterday. Wherever it is, I'm not seeing it. So if I have it here, it'll join the stack by the end of the month. So I've actually finished some print books despite being primarily in an ARC reading event. I am a moderator for Nicole and Coda's NetGalley November event. Nicole at Dusty Book Sniffers and Coda at Coda Means Friend. They are the primary instigators and everything for it. Coda does all the amazing graphics. And I suspect that's something that he's going to be doing more of because he's really good at it. So, yeah, check it out if you haven't been doing NetGalley November. It's fun. You don't have to read ARCs to do NetGalley November. I do because I have way too many. But you can read anything. It's mostly just a 24/7 sprint train where literally any time of day in November there are sprints going somewhere connected with NetGalley November. And there's even a playlist so you can just get on it and stay on it. So that's the particularly cool part about this event. And then there's a Discord and we read ARCs and usually end up getting more ARCs than we had when we started, which is not actually supposed to be the point. But, it happens. Anyway, so the print books that I finished, we'll go through these, and then I'll go through the non-print books and tell you a bit about what I've read so far. And then we'll see how many there are total. So I've been working on the #1 Ladies Detective Agency series. This is the first one I needed to read this month. This is To the Land of Long Lost Friends. This one I believe is the one where Precious Ramotswe finds a relative she didn't know she had. And she's always wanted more family. Her parents are gone, or late, as they say in this series. Her parents are late. And she doesn't have any siblings. So she gets more family in this one, which is nice. So I finished 3 books in this series. This one, which is book 20, How to Raise an Elephant, which is 21, and I have that one here. And then the Joy and Light Bus Company, which I could have sworn we have a copy of. And if it is around, I will find it because I'm trying to get my books organized a little bit. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I also finally actually finished A is for Alibi by Sue Grafton properly. So that is done. I have an omnibus edition that has A, B, and C in it. So this one will go back to the store eventually. And I will be doing the omnibus for the other 2. And then it'll go eventually as well. And then I've got We Are Not Ourselves This was the first audiobook I did besides the number one ladies detective agencies books. So We Are Not Ourselves, which is about a family and all the ways that they deceive themselves and each other about who they are and what they want. And they all end up doing things because they think that the other people want them to do those things or be those things. And none of them are exactly doing what they want or being who they are honestly. And so it adds up to a whole bunch of seemingly straightforward people. And I think the premise is that this is what everybody does. And I kind of get it. And it works. It was a good book. Probably 4.5 stars. Not exactly a 5-star read, but it was good. And it was, I think, on the Dublin Literary Award long list. So I know I'd seen it on a book list. I think that's the one. And then the book that I've been listening to today that I will be done with probably in the next 4 hours or less is this one, The First 15 Lives of Harry August. Harry August is a dude that keeps living the same life over and over again, except that he doesn't because he remembers. So it's like he's reincarnating, except he's reincarnating into himself over and over again, but each time he remembers what he did before. So it's more like a video game where, he gets to start over and try different things and see how to win the game. And they haven't really referenced that idea yet, but that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. And I don't know what I think of it yet. It kind of works, but the logistics are weird. I have a hard time explaining what it is because they have a hard time explaining what it is. So, I don't know. So that's the print books I finished so far. The Joy and Light Bus Company, for now I'm going to count it as part of this category because I know I had a print copy of that book somewhere. So that would be 6 books in print. So I'm going to put these up and then talk through the non-print books. And then do a little chat and we're done. So I'll be right back. All right. So got my books pulled up here. NetGalley November is hosted by Nicole at Dusty Book Sniffers, and she's in Australia. So for us, NetGalley November started on the 31st of October because that's actually the first in Australia. So my books for NetGalley November include 2 that I finished on the 31st. The Book of Sheila by Wilda Hughes and Juice by Peter Deadman. These are both post-apocalyptic stories. In the Book of Sheila, the society that's like the remnant that's survived blames sinfulness for the collapse of society. And it's very much like Handmaid's Tale on steroids. Juice, on the other hand, it's more of a cli-fi future scenario. They blame electricity. I found that a little tricky. Not so much because there wouldn't be people that do that. There are people that do that for sure now. So of course they'd still be around. But in the Book of Sheila, there's resistance. There's people that are pushing back. And it's a very comprehensive totalitarian society. But there's an underground. And you see glimmers of it enough to know that it's not just everybody's happy with the way it is now. In Juice, my issues were mostly that there really wasn't much of a resistance. They still are finding like old solar panels and stuff. Solar is clean energy. There's gotta be people in this society that are aware of the fact that the solar panels are not going to destroy society and that can maintain them and continue that technology. Same thing with wind energy. There's technology present in their society that is the bad stuff that they throw it out, they get rid of it. That is so wasteful, first of all. Throwing stuff out when they're aware of what they've done to the planet, I don't buy it. You would use those materials for something, and you probably would be going for clean energy, not cutting energy out altogether, at least as a society. There'll still be pockets that they're like, electricity is evil, which is what they're doing. There's just no resistance, except there is. And what do they choose? Coal. Like, seriously? They have clean energy technology remnants, and so they are enslaving people to go down in coal mines and bring up coal. Because obviously with all this other technology, society has collapsed. You're going to do that? Really? Seriously? I found that issue. Also, I don't know. It wasn't terrible. It was a 4-star book. Lower 4 stars, like actually 4 stars, whereas Book of Sheila might be 4.25 stars. They both were very limited. They're both trying to keep their story to like 300 pages or so. So they're not doing the kind of world building where they could flesh it out and make it more believable. But reading them against each other was interesting. So both were good. I don't remember offhand when they were supposed to come out. And on Goodreads, both of them say publication date unknown, which does not help. Then we have Kimonos, was my third that I finished. Nonfiction by Rinko Camino. This one was very short. This one I think comes out later this year. I think it was this year. It's pretty. It's like the history and cultural stuff about kimonos. If you're into fashion history, this is a really good one. I gave it 5 stars. The pictures are pretty. It's very informative. And it does show like how you put the kimono on and stuff like that. It's not just geared to people that are already wearing kimonos on a regular basis. And I suspect it's geared towards a Western audience and towards Westernized Japanese people. Because there is a push to try and keep older cultural ideas from dying off in modern Japan. So my guess is that's part of the justification of this book, but it's written for a Western audience still too. So I liked it. It was fun, and I definitely recommend it. I have people that shop at our history section in the bookstore that they are interested in fashion history. So if we get a copy, they will definitely love it. All right, so then we have Out of Gaza by Katarina Galor. This one is about people in Gaza. Oh my goodness. Let me see if I can remember what it was about, because that is ridiculous. We're going to pull this one up. Out of Gaza by Katarina Galor is about Dima. That's right. Dima Mansour. So the author, Katarina, is an Israeli Jew, and she's telling the story of her friend Dima, a Palestinian Muslim who survived the Gaza War of 2014 and an illegal escape to be with the man she loved. It's also a story of Galor and Mansour's deep friendship set against the asymmetry that defines the geopolitical context shaping their lives. That's the blurb out of Goodreads. It's been a long week if I have to read those. Anyway, right, so Dima, she is a professional. Like she has degrees. Her young fiance has degrees, is a pharmacist. Like, these are not just standard, ordinary shop workers or whatever. These are professional people from Palestine that are caught up in all the crud that's going on in Israel right now. And all their attempts to leave legally, and why it doesn't work. Not much of a spoiler. It doesn't go well. And we start out with Dima in a refugee camp, basically in a prison, waiting to find out if she gets to leave the prison to join her husband. They're in Europe. They're not in the U.S., but it's very much like what's going on in the U.S., where we lock people up for being here illegally, and then they may or may not actually get a fair hearing after surviving all the stuff that they've survived. They still might get sent back. So it's quite the story. And just the bit about an Israeli Jew trying to stay friends with a Palestinian Muslim through all this. There is some tension in their friendship, because it starts out they're even. They're able to support each other, and then they get to a point where Dima needs so much support and so much help that the relationship gets lopsided. And there's a point where it's not clear if they're going to stay friends after this, because it really does put some weird tensions between them. There's a lot going on in this one. It's only 200 pages long. So if you're looking for a nonfiction for Nonfiction November, which we're also in, unofficially, the Nonfiction November thing exists in other platforms, but the folks that were hosting it before are not. So officially it's not hosted on BookTube that I know of this year. But everybody still knows it's Nonfiction November, and there will be a Nonfiction November nod in NetGalley November. So if you are participating in NetGalley November, you may want to have your nonfiction ready, because you will want it. Yes, this one came out in September, so it is not available as an ARC unless you already got it. But if you already got it and are holding on to it, there will be an opportunity to read it for NetGalley November, specifically because it's nonfiction. You should read it anyway, but it was really good. So then after that, I went on to The Great Man by Kira Davis Lurie. This one was actually an audiobook on my library system. So not an ARC, not one I own, but I needed an audiobook because a friend of mine, her husband promised that she would give this organization 300 hats by a certain date in November. And this was after she had told her husband that she couldn't do that this year. And so all of a sudden, our club was scrambling to make hats. So in the midst of all this other stuff, I had to pick some audiobooks just so that I'd have something to listen to while making hats. And that was one that I'd gotten just at the end of October and listened to during this month. It was really good. 4 stars, not amazing, but it's like a sort of a retelling of Great Gatsby. I didn't see it. I've read Great Gatsby twice, maybe 3 times. Not because it's a book I love, just it's something that's short and sometimes you have to read it. I could see where it was inspiring this book, but if you don't like The Great Gatsby, you'll be fine with The Great Man because it's not that tied to Great Gatsby. It has some similar vibes, but not for the whole book. And it's a 320-page book. Great Gatsby is a lot shorter. So there's more going on in this one. It is another of those stories where a black soldier comes back from being a soldier in war for the U.S. And comes back to the racism that's just part of society. And he's dealing with it. And he actually gets a job in California, which is way more egalitarian than where he's from, but it's still not really equal. It's just better on the surface. So there's a lot of embedded racism that comes out in this story where the folks involved don't think they're being racist because they don't even see it. So it's an interesting book for discussing what racism is and how it works and why. So I do recommend it. It's a good book. Don't let the Great Gatsby reference throw you off. It's not that bad. As a person who really doesn't like Great Gatsby, it's not that bad. Okay. So then I did The Beauty of the End by Lauren Steenstra. Again, I don't know what the publication date is on this one. It was sci-fi. And I really like the cover. It's pretty. It's like a yellow background with painting of leaves and flowers, and it's very pretty. Pretty much that's why I picked it. So in this one, mammals are not making babies. And as a matter of fact, all complex life is no longer able to make babies at some point. Like kind of like telomeres, where telomeres, determine how long you live. So it's like that, but it's shutting off your reproduction. So they can scan your DNA and find out how many more generations you can, go. So if your DNA says that you are one more reproduction cycle away from no longer being able to make babies, then your kid will be the last one to be able to make babies. And then everybody after that in your line, there isn't anybody out after that, basically. Your kid is it. I had issues with this one too. Because I really couldn't buy that it's that hard for society that's so obsessed with this problem, because they are obsessed with this problem, to figure out how to reverse that effect. We do gene therapy. It does work for things already. We're talking generations. We're not talking like all of a sudden there's no more babies. We're talking there's fewer babies, but this has been going on for a while. So they just found out about it, and now everybody's freaking out, and that's a little weird too. And there's this research project to try and like breed people. It was weird. I'm not really sure what their point was, what they thought they were accomplishing, and how they were thinking that was going to save humanity. So the premise is interesting, but if it was just this one research facility in this one location, which they start out kind of seeming like that's what they're doing, that they're obsessing over it at that level, I could see that. But just like with juice, the response is too unilateral. It's weird. People aren't like that. And there's a lot of people that will be cool with, okay, my great-grandkid will be the last one. That's a long time from now. By the time you get to great-grandkids, science may have advanced enough to fix it. Like, we don't need to worry about that. And there's a lot of crossbreeding, and like all the dogs stop reproducing somehow, but people haven't, which is weird because dogs are less complex, one would think, than humans, just a little bit. I'm not sure on that one. Maybe genetically they're similarly advanced in terms of however they measure it for this book. But I don't see why dogs would stop before people. That didn't make any sense. And dogs but not cats, which is interesting, which they are making a statement about cats being more advanced. I like that part. Anyway, so if you're the sort of person who has a kind of a sciencey background and these kinds of things bug you, it may not be a 5-star for you either. But there's a lot of fun stuff going on. It is trying to be modern sci-fi, which I appreciate, because there is a lot of science to be done in sci-fi, but it's not classic sci-fi stuff anymore, because we're already almost at the old sci-fi. Like, we have rockets that can go up and come back and land and be used again, which is what they have in the sci-fi I grew up on. So we're close enough to some of that stuff that it's no longer futuristic. It's more like just different ways of doing the technology that we can do. So I do appreciate seeing ways science fiction takes on new stuff. So yeah, in that sense, I love seeing books like this. And there's a lot to be debated about how people really would react. I just don't buy that people are that unilateral in anything. That's like herding cats. We're not going to all react the same way. And, it might be a bit of a crisis, but we're already having, populations where people treat women like crap when they have babies, so people don't get babies because they treat the women like crap. Gee, what do you think? There are a lot of societies that are running into this. Like, women don't want to make babies. They've been told for years that they're, loose women, that they're whores because they have babies, and, that they're devalued because all they are is a mom. And so now we have a lot of women my generation and younger that are not interested in making babies. Sorry, dudes. And so we're already seeing a decrease in population from that, and just from the structure of the population in general, because there was the baby boomer effect, and we have all the baby boomers aging, and they didn't have as many kids, so we have a much smaller next generation. So all of that compounds to we're already dealing with fewer babies. Where I live, they've closed down several elementary schools because they just don't have enough kids to justify the number of schools that were open for the previous, decades worth of kids. It seemed a little bit over the top, the reaction to this discovery. And I'm not sure most people are going to buy that this discovery is true. We have people still debating whether the planet is round. And, that's easier to prove. You get on a plane, it keeps going around until it comes back where it started. And, you can see you've gone different places that whole time. I mean, you could figure it out. There's big bodies of water and stuff. And if you just keep going around enough times and enough pathways, you could chart the whole planet. That's, Anyway, we digress. So it was good new sci-fi with a strong social element. So people that are not really into sci-fi will still like it, probably. And then I did The Farm by Joanne Ramos. This was another audiobook so I could make hats. I made about 30 hats during the first 2 weeks of November. So it was worth it. The Farm is like a baby farm. So young women who need money and are healthy and, fit the right criteria get to join this baby farm where they're like surrogate mothers for various people, and if they do well, they get, a bonus and they do more babies. And then there's an issue with one of the women and her child, and not being allowed to have her own child there, and so having to split her time between where she's supposed to be and where her kid is, and it's a bit of a mess. I wouldn't say it's sci-fi, but it is slightly leaning sci-fi, like, taking what we have just a little bit further. And it was good. I enjoyed it. It was 4 stars. I'm not a babies person or a pregnancy person. Like, none of that vibes with me. So just the topic in general was not going to be a 5-star unless it was amazing. And I didn't give Breasts and Eggs 5 stars either that I remember, by Mieko Kawakami. That one's another one that it's all about pregnancy. Making babies. I'm like, no, I'm not a baby person. Kittens. I'll do kittens. But not quite the same thing. So I would recommend it if you are not allergic to babies. It's a good book. I am just not a huge fan of the topic, so it's a 4-star. But a high 4-star. It was like 4.5. So it would round to 5 stars, maybe. But and then I did The Elsewhere Express by Samantha Sotoyambo. This one is by the same author that did Water Moon, which was really popular this year. Elsewhere Express comes out in January. And I read it as a buddy read with Nicole at Dusty Book Stiffers and a few other people. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't able to be on screen. My computer and StreamYard do not get along right now. So that it actually kicks me out before I've even gotten on screen now. And I've cleared the cache. I have. It doesn't fix it. It makes it a little better deceptively for like 5 minutes. And then it crashes again. And then it stays crashed. Like it keeps just crashing as soon as you open it again. So StreamYard and I do not get along. I might not be on screen for a little bit till I convince it otherwise or figure out how to work around it. But I was there in the comments. It was fun. I did finish, and so did Nicole, and I think 2 or 3 other people were reading it with us. It was definitely one I recommend, 5 stars. So it reminded me of The Neverending Story, The Midnight Library, and it had kind of a moral message like of Things Gone Astray by Janina Matthews is one that it reminded me of in that respect. It had similar vibes. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman is another similar sort of story structure. So you have a reality that's alongside the reality we see. And so that's where this Elsewhere Express functions. So it was really good. It's fantasy, like modern fantasy. Would probably appeal to people that liked Neil Gaiman and A Neverending Story and so on. If you've not read of Things Gone Astray by Janina Matthews, I recommend it a lot because I really like it. And if you liked The Elsewhere Express, you might appreciate the vibes of Things Gone Astray. Just saying. Anyway, it's been a few years since that one came out, but I got that one as a Goodreads giveaway when it was being promoted. So, yay. So after that, I went on to Fireweed by Lauren Haddad. 3 stars. It was crime fiction. I was bored. Not much to say about it. It was okay. The cover is beautiful. It has this magenta background with red, and it's very electric. So I loved the cover. I was disappointed. Yeah. It was boring. Moving on. Songs for Other People's Weddings by David Levithan. I had thought this was a short story collection. I don't know why. It's a novel. It says so on the cover. Of course it does. This one is by an author, David Levithan, that usually writes LGBTQ books for YA audience. Usually homosexual boys are his main focus. This one, it's a wedding singer that writes and plays songs for people's weddings, like the title says. And the book was sort of co-authored-ish with Jans Lekman, who actually is a wedding singer in real life. And so the lyrics in the book for each of these weddings are written by Jans Lekman. So that was fun. The songs were really cheesy. But it wasn't bad. It was a 4-star book for me. It was not really in my comfort zone. I don't usually read cute, cozy, wedding-themed books. But it was funny. It was good. It was 4 stars. I recommend it. And I know most of my friends are not anti-wedding either. I'm not anti-wedding. I just don't want to do it. But yeah, so that is, it would be higher stars if it was more my topic. Kind of like The Farm. I'm just not as into it. But it was good. And that one came out in August. That was an arc for me, but it is out now. Then I did Light Breakers by Aja Gabel. This is one that was on prize lists. Do I remember which prizes? No, of course not. Women's prize, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so Light Breakers was okay. I liked the physics emphasis. I was wanting more sci-fi. It pretends to be about time travel. And there's another one, The Third Rule of Time Travel, that I read earlier this year that does similar time travel, where you hook up to a machine and your mind travels, but you physically don't. This is that kind of time travel. But in the third rule of time travel, you can see that things have changed, that they actually are going back in time and changing things. I didn't really get that sense with this one. Like, as far as I was concerned, there was no actual time travel. They're hallucinating. Maybe they are sharing hallucinations using their machine, but they're not actually convincing me that they travel. So I didn't even mark it as sci-fi. It is just literary fiction. So it was okay, but it was only 4 stars for me. But yeah, read it. Let me know what you think. I didn't find it convincing, but it's more about the relationships and about this guy's obsession with this experiment and how that obsession can derail quite a few things. All right, then after that was The Last of Its Kind by Sybil Grimbert. This one's short, 168 pages, came out in August. I loved this one. It is about a great auk, the bird, the big bird. It looks like a penguin kind of, but with a funky beak. They are extinct. And in this story, the first chapter, we're going along with these evil men that are murdering great auks because they can. And I was concerned because I was worried that this was going to be a sort of book where it would be cruelty to animals throughout and I would just have to quit. But the author is very sympathetic to that. Yeah, this is not cool. But trying to also understand the people that are doing it and why they're doing it without approving of it at all. So I appreciate that. And one of them comes back with a bird, like a live one with a damaged wing. And he keeps it as a pet. And it becomes his buddy. And pretty soon it's the last one, because everybody else keeps going back and killing more of them. And it's not like they're even good eating. They're not threatening in fisheries or anything. And they're not that kind of population. They're just killing them because they can. And there's discussion of that. Like, why do humans do this? And, you know, the frustration I feel when I read those kinds of things is in this book. So it was satisfying. It was well done. Not very long. It reminded me of North Sun, which was on this year's National Book Award long list, which I also surprisingly really liked. It was also 5 stars for me. And that one took on whaling. And again, I was prepared to really be uncomfortable. And it took a turn where I actually really liked that book. So, anyway, Last of Its Kind might be my favorite for this month so far, at least from the arcs. Then we have Evelyn in Transit by David Gutcherson. It was good. Basically, what if one of the Tibetan or Tibet region lamas was reborn as a white kid in the U.S. So it builds up. I was trying to figure out why we're following this kid in Tibet, or I think they're actually in Nepal, but they're southern Tibet, northern Nepal, that area. Well, why we're following this kid, alternating between that and this young woman that's really having a hard time, and she's a big girl, not fat, just big, tall, big boned, not exactly ungainly, just big. And she doesn't feel very ladylike, and she goes off and has a nomadic lifestyle for a while. So we're alternating between her and this sort of reborn Tibetan Lama. And then the stories come together. And it was really fun. 4 stars. It could have been better. I felt lost for way too long. It took too long to give you at least some foreshadowing of why we're following both stories. And at some point, they needed to at least have tendrils reaching out to each other in ways where you can get at least a reassurance that this is going somewhere. And it took a long time for that to happen. So that's where the 1 star got docked off, is I wasn't enjoying the book. The individual stories were fine, but they weren't coming together as a book for a long, long time. And it's a 250-page book, so it's not like it took forever anyway, but, you know. And we have The Book of I by David Grieg. I think it's Grieg. Grieg. Let's pull this one's blurb up. We're just going to accept that this is necessary. So this is a Scottish debut. It has been shortlisted for the Highland Book Prize and the Bookmark Book Festival Book of the Year. That's a lot of books. It came out in September. So with that much nomination, it might show up on book lists besides Highland Book Prize and the Bookmark Book Festival Book of the Year, which I just had to say again because, oh my goodness. So in this one, we are in 825, so the year 825, on a small island off of Scotland, kind of between Scotland and Ireland. And we are following the survivors of a Viking raid. And they, survive, they rebuild their life, and then the Vikings come back, because they always come back. This one was really good. It's, again, very short, 160 pages. So if you don't like it, it's not a huge investment, but I have a feeling this one is good enough, and with that many book prizes already mentioning it, if you are someone that follows book prizes, it would be worth at least trying it. It's short. It's easy. It's a good book. You'll enjoy it. And if you don't, it's only 160 pages. But there is a chance that it will show up on long lists and short lists in the next round. So it was really good. I enjoyed it. It's by a dude, so it won't be for a women's prize, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's on Dublin Literary Award and things like that. And then the last arc that I've actually finished, and this is a terrible thought, because I thought I was finishing more arcs, but I guess I've been focusing on other books for the last couple days. But I finished Ditch Your Shit, Decluttering Your Mindset to Declutter Your Home by Kate Evans. It was a fast read. It's decluttering. It's not heavy reading. I found it a little heavy on the psychology and chatting about decluttering. It took forever to get to any action. But that was reading it as an ebook. If I had it in print, it would have the worksheets, which each chapter has worksheets. So you work through, like, why are you decluttering? What are your goals? What are your issues? What kinds of things are hard for you to get rid of and why? And she goes through a lot of the psychology of how you got cluttered in the first place. What is clutter? What is the point of decluttering? All good questions. She in the blurb for this one, she's compared or referenced to Marie Kondo, and you can see there's inspiration from Marie Kondo, and the author does mention the KonMari method, and it sounds like her way of folding laundry is basically the KonMari method, which I appreciate because people are always fast to diss things. I found a lot to say that's good about the KonMari method, even though it has issues. And I liked that she is acknowledging the good in the KonMari method, while also acknowledging that there's limitations and here's some other ways to look at it and approaches. And she doesn't tell you to only have 30 books. Could you imagine a booktuber like me only having 30 books? Seriously? Like, no, that's ridiculous. So I was relieved by that. Yay. And there's a few other things like she doesn't tell you to pile all your clothes on the bed. And why would you do that? Then you don't have a bed. So maybe do it in a way that's a little bit easier to do to actually finish without upending your entire lifestyle while you're in the middle of this process. Yeah. So yeah, I liked it. I've read a lot of the decluttering books. I don't exactly do a business in decluttering, but I help friends every once in a while. I've helped a couple people where I go to their house and help them organize and clean and declutter. So I'm always looking at the resources because most of the friends I help out have something like ADD, they're on the spectrum, that kind of thing. And part of their issues come from their psychological stuff. And so, I do read these as one of my areas that I keep up on so that I can help people out. Maybe eventually I'll start actually doing it where I get paid. Getting paid would be cool. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind getting paid. But I'm not quite to the point where I have a business doing this stuff. I'm not there yet. Anyway, so I didn't really find anything new for me. And I'm not keen on cussing. I'm just not that kind of gal. But when I mentioned it on Sprints while I was reading it, half the people on screen I think actually would get more out of this one than out of some that don't cuss. So it's partly a stylistic thing, and I could see there's quite an audience for this book. So anyway, it's an ARC. It comes out eventually, I think this month, actually. That one probably does come out this month. And that's the last ARC I finished. I am currently about 60% into Henry VIII's controversial aunt, Honor Lyle. Although I'm wondering if Lyle at that time was also pronounced Lisley, because there's actually an alternate spelling that somebody uses in a letter in here that's spelled like that, Lisley. So I have a feeling that name has changed over time. Anyway, it's really good. It's set in the same time as Anne Boleyn, but Honor Lyle is Catholic. She's stationed in part of North France that at the time was part of Britain, or the British Empire. So she's overseas relative to all the drama going on in London. But she's also affected by all the anti-Catholic stuff that's going on during this time period. And where she and her husband are stationed, they're in charge of Calais. And Calais is running a deficit. They're in debt a lot, and the king is getting pissed off and wants his money. So then there's stuff going on. And it's a lot of what life was like at the time, which is cool. So how you do your shopping. She has somebody that's going around and finding food and materials and stuff and sending them over, and sometimes the ship sinks and all that kind of stuff. So it was fun. And then the other one I've got open right now is Evil Bones by Kathy Reichs, which is the new short Temperance Brennan book by Kathy Reichs. So I am enjoying it. It's fun. It's short. I just got distracted. So soon I will be done with that. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and I got a new book, my latest 6-hour. I put in for the ARC by this lady, and I didn't get it. But I did get Olga Dies Dreaming by Xochitl Gonzalez, because I really liked the other one I read by her. So, yeah, that's my newest book. before the sun gets low enough on the horizon that I have to turn the light on to do this video, let's just say that we're basically there. And I will do another update video maybe in a week so that it doesn't have to be close to an hour long. How about that? There may be other videos coming. Actually, I know there will be, because I have to do some the beginning videos for a crime series that I keep promising I'm going to do. Because one of them I have to do because it's a prop for kind of a play thing that I'm in. So it has to be done tonight. I will be making more videos. And there's going to be one that's for the public as well. The one that I'm not releasing is going to have a fake book in it. So I'm not going to put it up as part of my channel because that book doesn't even exist. It's just a prop for a play. But in order to make it work, I'm making a video series that it's part of. It'll be fun. So you'll see the video series, just not that one prop video. And maybe if I ever do a members thing, I don't know. I have qualms about that. If I ever do, maybe I'll release the prop video for members only. Something like that, where it's not out in public to confuse everybody. But anyway, I'm going to take off and get back to my reading. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic reading month. Let me know what you're reading, if you've read any of the books that I talked about, if you're going to put them on your TBR. And I will see you guys somewhere on the internet or in the next video or both. Talk to you later, guys.